Good afternoon. I'm Joel Franklin, and welcome to today's JLG webinar series, Silly and Somber, Books for Spring 2017. Have you ever wondered why JLG is so successful in choosing award-winning books long before anyone else? Maybe you'd like a job where you read books for a living, but wondered how to get that kind of job. Today we're in for a treat because our editorial director, Susan Marston, is joining Deb for a behind-the-scenes look at the selection process. They'll also share some of the hot new books to come for spring 2017. But before we find out more, I have a few housekeeping items. Please turn off pop-up blockers in your browser, as these may cause problems when viewing the webinar. If you're experiencing any technical problems, you can use the Help button on the audience console, and the webinar tech team will get to you as soon as possible. If your screen becomes locked, try using F5 to refresh, and if you're on a Mac, use Command R. Need credit? A certificate for continuing education credit is available in the certification folder. It will also be available in the archived presentation. If you have any questions or comments, you can send those in at any time via the red Q&A box. And join the conversation on Twitter. You can tweet us at JR Library Guild and use the hashtag JLGWebinars. While everyone else is trying to select the best of 2016, the Junior Library Guild team is focusing on 2017. From the editorial team selections to creating the new catalog and web pages for our new selections, our entire team is forging ahead. JLG has been selecting the best books for children and teens since 1929. What's the secret? Let's see if we can get Susan to tell us. Susan, can you describe your team for our listeners? How many people do you have, and just what do they do?
Well, at the moment, there are 9 of us. We're all book people from states all across the country: New York, Pennsylvania, Vermont, Alabama, Texas, Connecticut. One of the key things is being able to articulate, having a critical eye, being able to articulate, that's a good word to stumble on, how you feel about a book. 6 of us have been here for 7 or more years, and others have gone on to do things like be a librarian or be a teacher or do other things.
So is the title of their job editor? What are their titles?
They all have editorial something in it. Editorial assistant, assistant editor, editorial director, senior editor.
Okay. And so this is you and your job. Tell us what your day's like. You just sit around in your pajamas and your hot cocoa and you read books all day?
I do that sometimes, but not in the office. Although we did just get a new coffee machine that makes hot chocolate. No, mostly I'm sitting in a chair in front of my computer. I'm doing a lot of coordinating with publishers, reaching out to new publishers, working with existing publishers, trying to find out more information about particular books. And then we're reading and writing all day long. So when I used to teach second grade, I wrote to my former second graders, and said, okay, I write book reports all day long, which some people, that scared the pants off of some of them, and others liked it.
Yeah, so my mother tells people the same thing, that I write books reports for a living. So how do you get that job? I mean, I have a job, but if I wanted to do something like that, what would I do?
Well, you have to live in New York City or be able to get here very easily, because our turnaround time and our collaboration requires being in the same place, not every day, not all day, every day, but a lot. And then the interview process is pretty strenuous. We get many resumes when we post a job, and we put people through lots of tests and interviews in order to land the job.
I would think so. I mean, you have to do more than, I just really like it. It's not enough.
Yes. You have to say what is good about it. You can't just say that it is good. You have to say how it is good and how it compares to another one.
Right, and how it's better than the rest, because literally that's what you guys are doing. You're looking at all the snake books, and I know you're going to talk about that in a few minutes, and whittling it down, but then you have to be able to defend your book, I guess. So speaking of books,
Yes.
let's talk about some of the ones that you've already chosen for next season. So our season goes from March to August and September to February. And one of the first selections is The Sun is Also a Star, which is in our City High category. And you can see on your screen that it's already won some awards. And you're thinking, but wait, but this is one of those late releases. And I always worry about late releases getting enough love. And so Susan and her team have chosen this book. And so when Susan told me, let's talk about silly and somber because that's a theme I'm seeing, I just got this list of books, and so I started reading it, and I thought, wonder if this is silly or somber, because it's a bright, perky little cover. And then I got to reading it, and I went, okay, I'm going to pick somber, because bless this girl's heart. I mean, Tasha is a senior in high school, and she's about to be deported at 10 o'clock that night.
Yeah.
And she hasn't started packing yet, and she was going to go to college, and she has all these plans, and she wants to be a doctor. Now she's going to be deported to Jamaica, and she was a kid when she was there. She doesn't know anything about that place, and what about her plans and the prom and all those kind of things. And on the other hand, there's this Daniel guy who, because he's really got no choice, he's a Korean American and he's supposed to be a doctor. So he's on his way to a Yale interview when the two have a chance meeting, and nothing is ever the same. So I wanted to be sure we put this little book in your book buzz in your ear so you can get your hands on this book, because I think your young adult kids will like it, relate to it. It's in diversity. It's about what I'm supposed to do and what I really want to do myself, and so.
And it's about love.
It's about love, and I love. You know what I love? It's not nice and neat. It's not a Disney movie.
She has no interest in him at first. She cannot.
It's hilarious. That part is hilarious.
Time for him. Yes.
Yeah.
This one is also going to be one of our audio selections for winter 2016 and 17, and the audio performances are just lovely, and the voices are so rich and authentic and beautiful. So it's a wonderful book.
Yay. So that is one that you guys decided to choose and put in our 2017 lineup. Here is Dan, right? And Dan reads adult crossover as well as other things.
Yes.
How does that work? How do you divide up chores, book reports?
Well, Dan is a published author, an adult author. So he was the perfect person to move into choosing the adult books. He's been with us for 9 years and has read for lots of different categories. So he knows what we are looking for very well. And then, so making selections from adult books to know, will a kid respond to this? Does this fit with what we've been doing for years? He was the absolute perfect person. So everybody specializes in particular categories, and for that season or for over many seasons, they become experts. They've read all the books that are coming out that fit that category at one time, and they rank them, and then we decide together which books we should take. So they read deeply, and I read their recommendations for the top choices, and together we make the selections for each category.
Cool.
And then for the young books, the picture books, we split it up. A lot of people work on that, and Liz Gavril and I make the final choices on those.
Oh, and speaking of Liz has got her turn up at bat next month. Liz and I are going to talk about books for elementary readers for 2017 in January. So,
and
you guys out there
listening, expert in
listening,
that.
You'll get to hear from Liz. On the whole other end of those is Scar Island. So you probably could guess, is this silly or is this somber, those of you listening? I'll read you the first sentence. It's no fun shivering when you're wearing handcuffs. It doesn't help to be seasick either. And off we go. And so it's a modern-day Lord of the Flies. This kid has done something so bad, Jonathan has done something so bad that he won't even tell people what it is. And it's written by Dan Gemeinhart. Many of you probably know him from his first two books. But maybe you didn't know he's a teacher librarian in Washington State. So he knows kids and knows what they like to read. And you won't be able to put Scar Island down, for sure.
It is a page-turner.
It is a page-turner. So while I'm reading pages...
I love the moment in this book when they realize, okay, so the grown-ups are gone. We're going to keep doing this, and then realizing, oh, wait, we still have to do the chores.
Right. Well, so the whole thing is that without telling too much, suddenly these boys are in prison. They're on this island because they've done something bad, and they've been sent away. And so they're on this island where they can't get off. And all of a sudden, they find themselves without adult supervision. And again, maybe Susan and I were talking about this earlier, but deciding who's in charge. And suddenly, somebody's in charge. I don't know how we as a group decide who's in charge, but there's always a leader who shows up. Whether that leader is good or not, there's often some of each. But in this story, one does surface, and chores must be done in this story. So while I'm reading books, wherever I am, not just here in the office where corporate headquarters are in Columbus, Susan, you're somewhere else. Tell them where you are.
We're in Manhattan in the financial district, 123 William Street. We share office space with School Library Journal and Library Journal. They are part of our same parent company, but we're working on completely different things and schedules, so mostly we just say hi in the kitchen. I've been at JLG for a long time, but not nearly as long as our ficus tree, which I inherited from Barbara Huff, who was here for 43 years.
Wow.
So this tree is the longest living JLG-associated thing in the office, and you can see that where we've moved around Manhattan, I know that there were previous addresses to this, but 245 Park is the one I remember. And from then on, I was part of it. I joined when we were at 666 Fifth Avenue. So we move a lot, but we've always been in Manhattan. And
then, this is it, yes?
That's it, yep, with Sophia and Wendy standing out doing the Vanna White, displaying the building.
Right, displaying the building. So let's talk about some more of the books that you guys have chosen. So Shannon Hale is up next with a memoir, Real Friends. Tell us about this story.
This is a story about girl friendships and the perils of girl friendships, and how one girl who doesn't quite fit in, who wants to be friends but doesn't really fit in, and how she has to go along with what other girls are saying. In this case, her best friend for her whole life moves away, and she's left with another kid who could be her best friend, but she doesn't really like her as much. And then, I think it's in third grade, the strong girl Jen gets to decide who everybody is friends with, and she likes our main character, for Shannon, for being honest. And then she talks to all the girls and she says, well, you're in the group and you're in the group and you're my favorite and you're my next favorite and you're my next favorite and Shannon's my least favorite, but she's in the group. And it's all kinds of things that brings back memories for me, I have to say. And Shannon Hale dedicated it to the reader, she said, "For you, when you're feeling lonely and worried, so you'll remember that you're not alone." And this is a huggable book, and it's such a full story. It really reminded me of Roller Girl by Victoria Jameson, and it's such a peak example of what graphic novels can be. This is not just some pictures and some words. This is a full story that you can really fall into and relate to and get lost in.
Right.
And it's heartbreaking.
It is. I just wanted to call Shannon and hug her, take her to tea, or send her some chocolates or something, because it made me sad for her. Speaking of sad,
I think it will be really nice to see for girls to see that someone who's so successful now
absolutely
knows what they went through.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Another book that is on our Somber side is Flowers for Sarajevo. It's in our new character building category, but it's all about the power of kindness. And I've been on the road for the last 3 weeks, and that is what everybody is looking for right now, is books that teach kindness. And here's a perfect example, because this is a story about the attack at Sarajevo and the people that died. But there is a little boy and his father. They run a flower stand, and after the accident, after the bombing, the little boy has to sell because his father's not there anymore. And I'm telling this so badly, but
well, he's been in the square selling flowers along with his father, but his father's called off to war, and then.
Yes.
The bombing, every day he's happy with where he's been staying because it's near the orchestra hall and he can hear the music pouring out every day. But 22 people are killed in the bombing, and after that, this cellist who was part of the orchestra comes out every day. He's dressed in his finery, and for 22 days in a row, he comes and he plays his cello in Sarajevo Square to honor the 22 people who were killed in the bombing. And one of the soldiers asked him, this is in the back matter of the book, but this is a real man and there's a real event, and one of the soldiers asked the man why he was playing cello where people are bombing, and he said, "Why are you bombing where people are playing music?"
It's one of those stories that a lot of people wouldn't know unless you read this picture book. And I think that's one of the things that JLG is really good at, is finding those news stories that we can learn something from. Do you look for particular authors? Do you look for new guys? Or do you try not to pay attention to who's writing and who's illustrating?
We like to, it is great. I love to just discover new people. I like to discover new books. I like to go far and wide, cast our net as wide as we can to find the best books. So we look at tiny presses. We look at brand new authors. We look at big-time authors. We actually read the books that the publishers are predicting are going to be the great big books, and maybe we don't agree. So we look and we rank them based on our readings.
So
far and wide, everything.
So tell us about this next book, because I didn't see the cover because it came to me in a PDF. But here we have The Secret Project by Jonah and Jeanette Winter, a mother and son team. This is the epitome, maybe, of Somber. Well, I don't know.
Yes,
Flowers for Sarajevo. But this is a picture book for kids.
This is the Green Glass Sea and Bomb for elementary school, or it's a picture book that can be used for older because it's so affecting. It presents it visually so beautifully. The book starts just with the area of New Mexico where this all took place, just as it normally is. There's a school, and one day the principal is called and said, "You have to move out." And the boys' school, they have to go away. And suddenly there are shadowy figures moving in, and they can't say what they're working on. Their invention is so secret that they just call it the gadget. They can't even name what it really is. And as they're working on this secret project, the language in this is really beautiful and simple. I'll just read a little tiny bit here. The shadowy figures are making calculations that will help them create something gigantic out of something tiny. The clock is ticking. These great scientists must complete their secret invention before any other scientists complete their secret invention. And what I love about this, besides the simplicity of it, here you see the scientists watching the detonation of the first atomic bomb. And these are just the first 2 pages. There's another spread, wordless spread, that shows more of the flames. And then the end goes to just a black page. You have a moment to just reflect on this and think about it. And then there's a lot of information in the back matter explaining more about the Manhattan Project. It just gives you chills.
Yeah, it does. And it's a picture book. And speaking of picture books, our picture book category, our P category, has been around for a while, huh?
Yes, it was fun for me when I first arrived at JLG in 1991 to find lots of my childhood favorites on the shelves. So sometimes we just put them on display. So Madeline and Horton and Corduroy.
I love that Madeline's Rescue was retailed at $3.
Yes.
That's hilarious.
A little more expensive now.
Funny, right? And what's not quite so funny now is, big cat, little cat, Elisha Cooper.
Well, this is the book that actually inspired the title for this webcast. Deborah, you called me and said, we need to do one. What would be a good approach? And when I got up from my chair, I went past the box of materials that we were sending to you, and there was Big Cat, Little Cat on the top. And that made me think of the somber part of this. And we also have so many funny books that I thought it was a good contrast. This is Elisha Cooper, who can do so much with what seems like so little. The line drawings in here are very emotional and affecting and very cat-like. So there's a cat who lives all alone until one day a new cat came. And the big cat shows the little cat how to do all the things that they need to do. And that includes that for 5 minutes each day they go wild, which I think is so cat-like. And then you see a full spread of the two of them just curled up together, sleeping. But time goes by, and they get older, and one day the big cat doesn't come back. And it's very hard, not just for the cat, but for the whole family. And then, after a little while, a new cat comes, and the cycle repeats. It's very simple, it's very affecting, and it's packed with emotion. Elisha Cooper did a book a long time ago called Building, which was also very simple. This is line drawings. That was more little watercolors. But he just can capture the daily motions so expertly, and he does that here. And it may make you cry, but it's very touching. So Nico draws a feeling. This one is a perfect one for the middle of our talk here because this is an artist boy who's trying to express his feelings. He draws the ringling of the ice cream truck and the warmth of the sun on his face, but nobody recognizes it until he finds a friend who can look at his drawing and know what he is trying to do. So it starts out frustrating and ends up when he finds a friend, it validates his artistic feelings.
And it's beautiful, and you will love it too. It's one of our new categories, and let's transition from there to our silly part. This is Rickety Stitch. It's the first of a series about a haunted skeleton minstrel. There's even a website for the whole series. And Susan tells me that we're actually going to have to bump it into the fall. But just know that it's coming, and it's funny. I think your kids are going to like it. I haven't seen anything like it.
No. Well, I mean, the bag of goo looks like a lunch bag full of goo and speaks in ellipses, and still
right.
I felt warmly toward him and his relationship with the minstrel, and I definitely laughed out loud several times reading it, which you wouldn't expect about gelatinous goo that you feel so much for it.
You wouldn't. Frog Kisser. Frog Kisser is, and you recognize, I'm sure, those of you that work with middle and high school, you recognize Garth Nix. This is a fairy tale, a story about a princess who is called up to be the hero. So if you're into non-traditional heroes and non-traditional sidekicks, it's a kingdom of transformed people into otter people and newts and frog princes, and it's up to the younger princess to become the frog kisser and save them all. So it's funny, it's laugh out loud, and I think my new motto is eat what's in front of you. Just eat what's in front of you and quit worrying about all the stuff that might be on the side buffet. Just eat what's in front of you. And a similar theme is Princess Cora for elementary group, Princess Cora and the Crocodile. And look who did this book. Did y'all just jump up and down when you saw this?
This is a pretty powerful team.
This is a crazy powerful team. But
Laura Amy Schlitz can write everything.
Yeah, and Brian Floca's illustrations are hilarious. It's a story about a princess who just wants the day off. I know the feeling. And so she gets a crocodile to take her place, and nothing is quite the same. It's a twisted fairy tale that I think your kids will like. And speaking of things that are twisted, how about this one, Susan?
Oh, this one is hilarious. Most of our mystery adventure category books turn out to be novels, but this one is a picture book, and a hilarious one at that. And it's told by a private eye that is literally the letter I. And it also contains my favorite joke, which is, what did 0 say to 8? Nice belt. So it stars numbers and letters. And there's a mystery that only the private eye can solve. But it is laugh out loud funny.
It is laugh out loud funny. So you can use it for math, and you can use it in mystery, and it's definitely one that kids need to see the illustration. How about this one? Laundry Day.
This one is hilarious. This is just when you know rascally kids who are trying to help or just get so inventive, and then they wreck things. That's what happens here. 2 little boys who are helping to hang the laundry start hanging everything they can think of because it's so much fun to hang the laundry. And when the mother comes back, there are mattresses hung up and wagons and rugs and flowers and gloves and chairs, and it is hilarious. And Jessica Bagley, who wrote this and illustrated this, also did, her first one was Boats for Papa, which was such a sad book, and this one is laugh out loud funny.
It is completely opposite. So as we're wrapping up here, let's wrap up by talking just a smidge more about your team and how they get things. So here's what you think they might be doing, and where are all the people, and they're all reading. So Susan, talk to us about how the books come to you.
Well, we get lots of packages. We get lots of packages, but mostly we get lots of electronic copies of things. Here's Maria reading fantasy. And so we read things electronically, and often we get the finished copies. Well, we always get the finished copies afterwards, but sometimes we get the physical copies afterwards. So we read at our computers, we read on our iPads, and we read at our standing desk, like Princess Leia, a.k.a. Rachel.
And sometimes they might be in a drawer.
Yes, bookshelves don't really work when you're working with evaluations and keeping track of everything. So we're mostly in file drawers. So there's Lee looking for some mystery adventures, and those are some accepted books. So they're not. You can see there's actually one in there that's a finished book, but that's the British edition. They're not actually books when we select them.
So, last but not least, we have to talk about this book. It's my absolute favorite. I read this to everybody all last week.
I thought you would like that one.
I love this book so much because, first of all, I'm a wordless book fan, but the whole thing is this little guy is going to write a wordless book, but he keeps at first interrupting himself, and he's like, okay, now it's wordless. And then here comes his two little friends who want to be part of the book, and they want to help, and it just goes on, and the joke never stops being funny. And then all of a sudden, boom, there's Mother Bruce. I laughed so hard. So this is Brian Higgins. So you know Mother Bruce and the hotel.
Poor long-suffering Mother Bruce.
Bless his heart. I saw him in a window on Fifth Avenue as I was walking down there the other day, and I went, hey, the LG selection. So that's a little bit about the somber and the silly. I think because we're out of time, we're just going to have to can any kind of questions that might have come in, and we can talk about them. I'll write a little blog post, and I'll make sure I get the right answers from Susan. But let us know if you enjoyed today. Remember that in addition to telling you about great books, that we're looking for resources and putting them in the live binders. You can find them at bit.ly/JLG Live Binders. There is a new one, yay, for spring 2017. So all today's titles are entered, but it's a little early to find resources for some of these. So I'll be looking for those and adding them in along the way. And then remember to look at the JLG website. As you look for titles, if they have a live binder tab, it'll say JLG Book Talks to Go, and the link will be right there, and you can click on it. Remember, though, that because these are so new, they haven't been assigned a month, and if you look them up now, it'll say August 2017. They're not all coming in August. They just haven't been assigned their month yet, so just be patient.
We're still picking them. We're making all the final decisions now.
Yeah, I need to get you off the phone so you can go back to that.
Also, just wanted to mention you can check out our website after the webcast for the recap blog post. You'll find a list of all the books mentioned here, probably a couple more with links to the book detail pages and some other resources. Also, mark your calendars. You can join us on January 26th at 3 o'clock Eastern when Deb will chat with another member of the JLG editorial team, Liz Gavril, about the upcoming titles for elementary readers for spring 2017. Thanks again for our special guest, Susan Marston, for spending some time with us. And thank you to our listeners for supporting these new authors and illustrators with your time. Please ask your account rep if you have any questions about our categories, or you can always contact our sales department with any questions. Tomorrow, you'll receive an automatic email regarding today's webinar. If you follow the link, you can watch the archived webinar and print your certificate of attendance after 10 minutes of viewing. Until next time, thanks again for joining us, and happy reading.